What is this place? Who are you? We're just like you. Lost.
Just another movie night.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are Just Another Movie Night, and I am Scott. With me is Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Scotty.
How you doing today?
I'm better now. Just got off a traffic jam.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know.
I'm exasperated.
This is what we do. We run to see movies for some strange reason. But this is before and after reviews, and this is where we go see a brand new movie in the theater and give our thoughts before and after. And today we are seeing The Watchers. The Watchers.
The Watchers.
A horror movie.
Is
of
it
sorts.
Is it? Yeah, I
It's
don't know.
one of those mystery thriller horror movies that's, you know, here's the thing. It's directed and produced by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
You can say her name. Come on, I know you have it in you. I know you do. You can say it. You gotta pronounce it.
What is it? I don't know her name. Do you?
Yes, you do. I don't know it either. Hold on, no, I do know it. Let me do it. Let me do it. I got this. So it stars Dakota Fanning, and it's directed by Ishana Shyamalan.
Okay.
Ishana.
I like how you threw it on the gauntlet. You didn't know it yourself.
Well, no, I just thought you weren't saying it because you can't pronounce it, but it's... I was telling you that you've got this. And I didn't even have it, so...
Yeah. She worked on... he's got a TV show that he was doing. I think she worked on that. And she worked as his assistant director on Old. So, I mean, this is like her first feature-length movie, I believe. And that's the problem here. Will she follow in her father's footsteps? And the debate about is her father's footsteps a good goal or a bad goal? Because I think it's debated. People of a certain age grew up with certain movies of his and think it's his best. We are on the fence of saying he is one of those directors that has the best steady decline of filmmaking I've ever seen.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, he's like a roller coaster ride. He went from the top, his first movie, his first big movie, Sixth Sense, being his top, his best. And then every movie under that, good, getting worse, and then dropping completely to the bottom with a few films, namely The Last Airbender, and what other one we can think of that we hated.
I hated
Well, that's the roller
one.
coaster ride, because he came back with The Village, and we're very on the fence of how he felt. And Old, again, is like a drop again, because The Village was like, maybe this is a step in the right direction. Glass was a step maybe in the right direction. He was starting to work upward, so he made Glass, and then he was like, Visit, and you're like, oh, maybe he's coming back.
Which
and then
I
he was
didn't
like,
mind that one.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The Visit and Glass are both not Glass, Split and Village are both like, and then he made Old, and then he made Glass, and everybody's like, oh my God.
The last one was A Knock at the Cabin.
And then again with The Knock on the Cabin, where we're all confused of, do we like his movies? And we don't think we do. And it's very sketchy about how we feel about his movies in general. I'm pretty sure that he is so self-absorbed in his filmmaking that he can't help but put himself in his own films. He makes himself like a deity. It's kind of gotten to the point where I can't stomach it, but I also can't wait to see his movies like it's some kind of experience.
I know, but he's got that new one coming out, Trap, with Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
But aside from this is his daughter. We're hoping that she doesn't do some of the annoying things in her filmmaking that he does, which is what you just mentioned. That's all I'm hoping for. Like, I literally have no expectations for this, although I just know that there's going to be some sort of twist.
That's what I was getting at. Will she follow in her father's footsteps is what I was saying.
Yeah.
Will she do his tropes? Will she gain? Because when I saw the trailer for this movie, I went, oh, this is just that people are the same all over from the Twilight Zone, where in the Twilight Zone episode of that name, a couple astronauts crash on a planet. They think they're on a alien planet, and they see some humanoids, and they put them in a room, and they say, "Oh, everything's fine," and then they realize they're in a zoo. That they're humans being put in a zoo, and they're being looked at like they're animals.
I love that episode.
And that's exactly how this movie trailer feels, and I can't expect much from it because that's what it feels like, except it feels like it's got more of a monster movie kind of vibe to it, like a creature feature. But knowing Shyamalan's involved and knowing it's his daughter, will it be that twist heavy nonsense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, exactly. And so really wanting to see it just because of that nonsense. That's how I'm tackling this. I want to see these movies because I'm always fascinated by the possibility of a good film, but also the possibility of what can this be? Can this be worse than I imagine? And I kind of love seeing movies for that reason. I don't know why. It's that weird critical viewpoint. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you agree with that, but there's something to seeing these movies.
Yeah, it's intriguing. I mean, I'm not going to lie, especially since we love watching bad movies. We go into his movies thinking, okay, this is going to be a piece of crap. I mean, I'm just expecting it. I'm expecting it. I'm sorry. At this point, I definitely am expecting it. But since this is his daughter, maybe she wants to do her own thing and like build herself up into her own person. And, you know, I'm sure she's going to take some hints from her father.
And that's the point, yeah. She worked on Old, for God's sakes.
I know. Well, okay. Well, we can only hope for the best. I mean, I literally, I don't even want to tell you what I'm going to come out of this movie with, score-wise.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be very low. But I'm very intrigued by this. Number one, because I really do like Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, I do too.
I like her a lot. And I'm going to this movie because she's in it. Otherwise, I'd be like, all right, we'll see it on streaming.
Well, it's also a horror movie, and when we always go to the chance to see a horror movie experience in the theater.
True.
We like standing up for these types of movies. We'd like to see all movies in the theater because we like to support the theater and support the film industry. But,
yes,
you know, I don't want it to go away. And that's why I'm always ready to run to these things, even if they're going to be shit. You know, I hear people going, the theater experience, there's nothing worthy anymore. You're going to kill this thing. Like, why? Let's support it. It's weird. Yeah. But, let's go check this out. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to be funny when we come back from this thing.
I mean, I'm rooting for her.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be, you know, I want her to have her own career as a director, and I want her to succeed.
Yeah.
I'm not wishing any ill on her. I really do want her to succeed. So I hope this movie is enjoyable.
Yeah. All right, let's go check it out.
They come every night. They watch us until the sun rises again. It's a window on the other side.
They'll be very interested in someone new.
What is that? What are they doing?
Applause. For you, Mina.
Hello, everybody. We're back. We saw a movie. Indeed. We saw a movie called Watchers. The Watchers. The Watchers movie.
Yes. Okay. Directed by Ishana Shyamalan. And this is based on a book by A.M. Shine.
How long was this movie, Joe?
An hour and 42 minutes.
Okay. I felt every single moment of that hour and 42 minutes. I thought this was a 2.5 hour movie at one point. I was like, wow, this is not ending.
Wow. Okay. I didn't get that.
You didn't?
No.
This movie, I felt like it could have ended 5 times. Every time it went on again, I was like, oh, a new scene. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, we're still going with this.
I didn't really feel the runtime.
Wow,
I was
I'm
fine
very
with it.
surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this movie, we had in the beginning, we thought like, will she hit all those tropes of her father? You know, there's always that idea when somebody grows up in the shadow of their father as a filmmaker. You particularly pick up tropes and stuff like that, or you try to cut your own path. By making a horror movie or mystery or any of those things, you're kind of already following in his footsteps. So, I mean, there was that question there. So, I'm going to ask you, do you feel the Shyamalan trend in this film?
100%.
Yeah, I do too. And that's a huge, sad thing because you want her to make her own path, come up with her own ideas or follow a. I will say this, I will give her credit. She was following a book. So it wasn't a brand new script.
Right.
It was someone else's idea, which is good. Usually Shyamalan is known for coming up with his own ideas.
Yeah, I
So-
think she adapted this though for the screen. So
Yeah, she adapted it.
yeah, but she was following source material.
Yes, and that's what I was saying. It wasn't her original idea. And I will say that's funny because, okay, I'm a huge Lost TV fan. Are you a huge Lost TV fan?
It's my favorite show ever.
It's my favorite show too. A lot of people disagree with us. Those people, I don't know if I understand you. But I will say we love it. So I could not help but think about that show while watching this movie.
It's very easy to do.
In fact, I would believe that she is also a big fan of it because many elements from that show appear. And at one point, I actually leaned over. I don't know if you heard me. I said, "What's with the Lost references?" Mm-hmm. I caught a couple that I thought were interesting. Number, there was hieroglyphics at one point, very reminiscent of an episode in Lost. And then it kept going with that, and there was some bigger part to it. No spoilers here, of course. We try not to spoil the movies at all. But there is a feeling of that show in this movie, while also trying to be its own thing. Now, would you say it's successful at being that thing?
I think it was successful at that. Yes.
You thought it was successful at being it's like a subgenre. We can't talk about it here, of course, because it's all spoilers. But there's a subgenre of horror that this movie seems to kind of revolve around, which it doesn't tell you for a very long time. You got to figure it out, and your mind will play tricks on you of like, oh, it's this. I will say that that subgenre is odd because I feel like I've seen a lot of films tackling it. Not in the recent years. I feel like we keep watching movies. I'm like, oh, that's very reminiscent. Oh, that we're doing this again, huh? But you thought it was successful, so
I thought it was, yeah. And there was a time in the movie theater where you leaned over to me and you whispered something, and you were wrong about that. So I was like, oh, okay, because usually you are dead on balls accurate.
I'm going to say I was dead on balls accurate about it, but I was mistaken on what.
Okay.
I knew something had occurred, and I knew we were going there. I just didn't know it was the thing that it was because we weren't given enough information.
Okay, we could talk about that off pod, but
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I don't think you 100% knew what the ending of this film is going to be. Like, you didn't.
Oh, no way. There is.
There is.
Oh, I knew the ending was going to be. Oh,
Okay.
Once we were told what was going on in the movie, I knew. I thought the ending was so insanely predictable.
Okay.
And I was going to lean over, and I was just like, nah. And I actually leaned over to you at the end. Near the end, I said, don't be shocked.
Yeah, and I wasn't because I knew.
It was so obvious. That's one of my huge things about this movie is I feel like once you start getting going, you can't help but notice this one important trope in movies like this. And Shyamalan is, in him, her father is also very known for this. Characters don't ask questions, and it's not because the characters are, like the characters don't want to say those questions. It's that the writer doesn't want to ask those questions because it'll spoil plot.
Of course.
And so this is one of those movies that you will. I mean, I can only talk myself, of course, but I was completely frustrated because I'm like, you're not. No one's gonna say anything. We're just gonna keep cutting past, no dialogue, no drama, no suspense, because obviously, if we talk too much, we'll figure things out quicker.
I mean, that's not a specific filmmaker's thing. That's like all filmmakers' things. It's like they don't want to ask questions. They don't want the characters to be inquisitive or ask the right questions because then, there's no movie.
I would say completely the opposite, because I think a lot of good filmmakers know that that's a cheap out, like a cop out. And to have questions and have drama and have people act like real human beings, there's a way out of it. There's plenty of good movies we've seen. Let's just take it like Jurassic Park, right? Jurassic Park is a very loved franchise, and they have an entire scene where we see like characters seeing the dinosaurs for the first time, right? And they instantly start asking questions. How, I need to know everything. And then they have a debate around the table about what are the ramifications. Now, in a movie that would be by Shyamalan, they would have cut all of those questions out, like the conversations. I mean, and there's no twist in Jurassic Park, so maybe it's a bad analogy, but my point is you create drama and you make characters feel real to get them to that twist. Okay, I don't know. It's a really old movie, so I guess it doesn't. I can say spoilers, but Jacob's Ladder is a good analogy of a guy who's asking questions. He's like, "What is happening to me? Am I going insane?" And he's talking to people about it, and you can't help but it's a good movie because you can't help but question everything you're seeing throughout the movie, which is good development, good character design. Characters are still acting like human beings. They would be questioning things. They would be like asking all the important things. They would be reacting to things. And then you see movies like this where the characters don't react to anything. They only react when the movie tells you it's time to react to something. That bothers me. I think that's really, really bad. Like setup and like if you remove the drama and the suspense, then we really don't. Nothing can affect us later on. You have to have that build up. You have to make us feel like we're watching real people in these moments. And this movie completely does not do that for me.
Okay.
You are feeling the opposite.
Well, I did not hate this movie. I actually kind of sympathized a little bit with Dakota Fanning. Even though you're right. She wasn't, like, anyone else would have been totally bonkers in a situation like this, like losing their minds. I mean, I know I would. She was kind of eerily calm about the situation.
Yep.
And that led me to believe that she has been through something in her life before. And I was like, okay. So I kind of was going through the motions with her, and I didn't mind it. Some of the other characters in the movie, not so much. I really couldn't connect with any of them.
Yeah.
But I did connect a little bit with her. Like, I didn't mind her. I thought that her character was okay. And I like the dark undertones of this movie. I thought there were so many creepy things going on in it, but it was kind of unintentional. Like, I don't think that she was really going for that level of creep, but I guess maybe because I look at things differently because I'm a horror fan, where like I see creepy in the strangest things.
Are you talking about Dakota Fanning's character's background, like stuff that she's doing throughout the movie?
Yes. Like how, I can't give away spoilers, but just how her character was so easily, like just ready to jump, ready to jump into things, ready to just, fly by the seat of her pants and not use caution at all. I was kind of intrigued by her.
Yeah, and I have a problem with that because I feel like the character is conflicting with the character that they show you, and then she starts doing things, and you're like, this is a character who wouldn't do things. Or this is a character who wants to be someone else. And I'm like, then be some, like, there's a whole, I don't know if it was done. It's interesting because it's supposed to be a parallel, but the movie doesn't do anything with it. And it feels like that parallel is completely squandered. There is a really cool, I would actually say the opening stuff, not the opening like setup scare thing that I hate when movies do. I don't like when you jump forward in a movie and you show something that occurred just so you can get people in the seats to go, ooh, scary movie. You know, I like when a movie starts with a character and we learn about that character, and then that character, we see the events through that character for the first time. That's a good setup. I liked everything that was set up with her. And I didn't know while, like, we get to the end of the movie, I kept thinking to myself, was that all red herring just to make us confused as to what was happening? It almost wanted to be another movie and then decided no. And I found that very confusing with the narrative of the whole film.
Okay.
There's a lot in this because this is also one of those movies that I find another completely just really pisses me off. Is that when you walk away from it, you have so many more questions that didn't get answered. Like, why wasn't anybody asking about this? How was that done? Well, how did this work? Why does that work? Well, how possibly could have done this? You know, who did this? Like who made little skeletons on signs? Why
Yeah.
would they do that?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, it's that kind of silliness that you can't help but like pick apart. And I don't like that. We're also watching a show called From on Apple. I believe it's on Apple.
I was
Or is it
actually going to
Paramount?
bring that
One of
up. Yeah.
yeah, very reminiscent of that because that show also is like it thinks it's being smarter and bigger than it is while also being really dumbed down to the point where characters don't react like human beings. No one is acting like a human being. People are like just being spontaneous, and then the director or the editor or whatever will cut away from moments that are interesting.
Right. Like the questions. Like,
Yeah.
we need some answers.
Yeah, our character will finally say,
Yeah.
"You got to tell me what happened," and then that person will just stare at them with a dramatic pause, and then they'll cut to another character somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then when they go back to those characters, it's like that never happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just irritating, and I don't like that. And I feel like this movie overall had a huge problem where it might have had a clever idea or a clever horror hook with an interesting character who's also, I like Dakota Fanning. She's a good actress. I think that they had something in her, but the problem is it didn't connect with that overall plot, that scheme. And when it got to the ending, it just went on and on. And I was like, the only reason to do this, I don't know. I mean, there was a part of me that was like, what is this, sequel baiting? But, or is this it doesn't feel like it finalizes. It just feels like it keeps going. And there were so many times where the movie was like, and here's another scene, and here's another scene, and here's another thing. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm just, you could have just cleverly ended on a twist or a stinger. And I think I would have been fine because, like we already said, kind of saw it coming, so it wasn't that big of a deal when it kept going with it. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's just me. And also, you did point out this, and I have to say something about this too, the actors. So, the actors are their own, they also, and this is an issue too, like we were already talking about how characters don't feel like real people. These characters also feel like cartoon versions of people. Like, you know, you have the one, you kind of have to hit these things like the worried person, but then you have like the guy who's overly acting like he's sinister, like he can't stop making horror faces. And I'm like, why is this here?
I thought that they kind of seemed like androidish, you know, like they were so kind of mechanical and just very robotic in everything that they did.
Yeah.
and it led me on a different path. I started to think other things
That's what I was
about
saying.
them.
Red herrings. This is
Yeah,
a thing
there's
to
a
make me
lot of
think
that.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I kind of lost the intrigue on them probably halfway through. I was like,
Yes.
okay, I don't want to do this anymore with these people, with these particular characters.
Yeah.
But I felt like I did like the tone of the movie. I thought it was creepy. I liked it. Like I guess the only one of the another if I had to gripe about it was way too long, like you said, and I feel like they could have added a little bit more, like some backstory, some reasoning. I feel like there wasn't any.
Yeah. There's like a character thing I was talking about. When that gets revealed, it just feels like it's another movie inside the movie. And I'm like, I don't know. Is this a conflicting tone or a clash of two ideas smashed into each other that don't really gel? I couldn't help but see, like, yeah, it's not gelling. This is not connecting. Like,
Yeah, like I kind of was feeling through the whole movie, why were these four people chosen? You know what I mean? Like there's
oh, there
four
I have.
people, and I'm like, wait, okay, so we know.
Don't spoil it too much
No, no,
there.
no. But I'm like, okay, maybe there is a reason Dakota Fanning is there. But what about the other three? I need some answers here,
These
and
are
there
qu-
was really nothing.
These are questions, and that's exactly what I was saying. There are multiple
Yeah.
problems. I will say though, I did really enjoy this setup. I really enjoyed the opening setup with her. I thought that was great. I keep thinking about little elements that they did that were clever, and I think it kind of gets smashed in the end of the whole thing. When it comes to the ending, you look at the beginning. I always say that like sometimes directors have like they have an idea, right? And they go, I have some clever camera shots and I have some ideas. Oh, this scene. And they come up with the whole idea of how they want the scenes to look. But then halfway through, they start getting bored with it. And I feel like this is that movie. Like, there's some stuff here that is like intentional directing, intentional camera stuff. And I'm like, that's actually really smart, really clever. I like where they're going with this. I wonder how this is going to play out. And then at the end, you're kind of like, okay, now it's like we just want to get this. I just want to get out of this because now it's not the drama, like the
Yeah.
psychological drama that I want.
And that kind of dragged you through the mud a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
I'm interested because you're saying you sound like you liked it way better than I did. So
I think I did like it better than you. I really didn't mind this film. Like, I thought I was going to come out just, just hating it. But I feel that it wasn't the worst movie ever. I think that it was competent in its directing. The acting was not bad. I like Dakota Fanning. I think she did a good job. And I like the intrigue behind this movie. Like maybe it went on a little too long. Yes, maybe there were some things that could have been, cut out or fixed. Like maybe mended a couple of things. Like just fix that up a little. But I didn't hate this movie. I really think that there was a lot of intrigue here, and I like the tone of it. It was dark and in a forest, and it was creepy. Yes, I do have many questions, and there are many similarities to other properties that we love. But like I said, it was adapted from a book. I think for her first directorial debut, I think she did great. And I don't feel like, annoyed for having seen this. So I'm going to give it a 6.
okay, that's interesting. I agree with you on her directing, and I do think there was some really interesting stuff going on here, and I'm wondering what happened at the last half because it kind of lost that really visual edge that
Yeah.
she had in the opening. Yeah, I do agree. I feel like it's a start of a good director. Problem is, I don't think this movie was marketed well at all. And I also think that no one was in our theater, but that's the new trend. So I don't know if this will do her any favors going forward if this movie doesn't make money. But she does have she does seem to have a really good eye. And I would like to see her go forward and maybe do something a little more edgier. A little
Yeah.
less of because I guess when we see movies, it depends on your taste of horror movies or your taste of a certain type of a genre. And I'm one of those people who's like, oh, I really like psychological stuff. I really like deeper, weird. If you're going weird and you're building and you're just doing like character stuff, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I like stuff like The Witch and stuff like that. I like that. It doesn't need to be a big film. It could be very subtle. It could be very easy. It could just be a good film with good characters. I like to see her do more stuff like that. Like that first half
interested.
stuff.
I'm interested in anything that she does going forward. I will watch whatever movie she makes
Well,
next.
we're going to see all movies anyway.
For sure, but I'm just saying that, yes, the end of this movie was a little wobbly and went on too long. But overall, I feel like it was a competent film. I mean, maybe it wasn't the plot that we all wanted or were expecting or,
Well, that's the thing. We really wanted to see, surprise us.
yeah.
I didn't really have an idea. I think in the opening I said that it felt reminiscent in the trailer of a Twilight Zone episode. Mm-hmm. And that is absolutely there.
And that's what I went in with in my
Yeah.
head. I thought that it was going to be that. So when it turned out to be something different, I was like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it was still a surprise
Yeah.
in some ways. you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, okay. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, okay, that's the answer. All right. I can't be as forgiving as you are. I'm definitely giving this a 5. I feel like it's extremely mediocre.
Okay.
I feel like there was the perfect 5 because it's on that touch of, this isn't working out, so it can be lower. But then I kept going, there is a touch here of something better. It just never gets to either side. So I'm perfectly gonna have to land in a 5. I couldn't find myself ever watching this again.
Okay. Well, if it was on TV and I happened to be like, cleaning the house or like
And you just
crafting
left
or
it
whatever,
on.
I wouldn't turn it
Yeah.
off. No. I thought it was competent. So, and I didn't hate it and it was fine. I mean, I didn't have a great time. Like it wasn't a hoot, but it also wasn't a stinker and we know stinkers. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with my 6 cuz I mean, if I don't say 6, it's a high 5 and we don't do points. So,
High 5.
high 5.
All right. So you're telling me right now is you're not going to go seek out Return of the Living Dead instead of watching this if it was on Netflix tomorrow?
How dare you?
Yeah, you're going to watch Return of the
Return of
Living
the Living Dead is like
Exactly,
life.
and that's my point. Yeah. So anyway, we got a 5 and a 6. All right. Any last parting thoughts?
No, I say, go check this one out. I mean, try and get some money in the theaters so we don't lose our freaking theaters.
Especially since people always bitch about more original stuff.
Yeah.
Less reboots and remakes. And then when they're like the original horror movies come out, no one sees them. Although I will say with a Violent Nature we saw last, I was a little surprised
lot of
people
people there.
turned out for that movie. It actually made like $3 million. You know what? Good for them. That's pretty decent for an independent movie that from Shudder.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
like seeing Shudder put more movies out. But yeah, go see horror movies anyways. Go see movies anyways. Who cares?
Gotta support the
It's
theaters,
a fun
man.
time, man. Just get the movie pass and you don't have to pay much like we don't. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one. And we're on social media too. Joe is at the Crafty Misfit, and I am we're both on Instagram, of course. And I'm at Just Another Movie Night. So tell us your thoughts if you saw the movie. I'd love to hear it. Thanks again. Have a good night.
Don't you want to know what they are?
It's impossible.